So, welcome back, learners, to part 7 of our biology KCSE 2016. Now, question 22, you are asked, state 3 characteristics of class Crustacea. Remember, you must know examples of members of class Crustacea. This is where we have things like, let me note them here. This is where we have things like crayfish, crabs, shrimps, lobsters. Those are all members of class Crustacea. So what are their characteristics? That is what you're being asked in this question. There are several characteristics that these members are usually having. And the first characteristic they're usually having is that their head, the head and the thorax is fused. So they have fused head and thorax. This is what you'll also get in some books being called cephalothorax. Okay? The second characteristics of members of class Crustacea is gaseous exchange occurs through the gills. Remember, these organisms, they live in water. So gaseous exchange occurs through the gills. The third characteristics that these members have is that they have two pairs of antennae. They have two pairs of antennae. Two pairs of antennae. Remember, antennae is used for sensitivity. Two pairs of antennae. They also have a pair of compound eyes. Pair of compound eyes. Those are some of the characteristics of members of class Crustacea. And then we go to question 23, where you asked, name one salivary gland in humans. Salivary glands in humans, there are three. It is not one. The first one is called submandibular salivary gland. Then we have the second type of salivary gland, which is called sublingual salivary gland. Then the last one, which is called parotid salivary gland. So we have three types of salivary glands, that is submandibular, sublingual, and parotid. Then instead, state two functions of saliva. You know, before we talk about functions of saliva, you must know the components of saliva. Components of saliva. Saliva usually has three components. The first component of saliva is water. The second component of saliva is mucus. And the third component of saliva is salivary amylase. Salivary amylase, which is also usually called ptyalin. Now, if you are asked about the functions of saliva, they come from these three components. For example, water. What is the function of water in saliva? So you'll say saliva dissolves food. And that is a function of water in saliva. That is the function of water. And then the second function of saliva comes from mucus. It lubricates food. That is the function of mucus. And then the third function of saliva is that it digests starch. And that is the function of salivary amylase, which is now the enzyme. It digests starch into maltose. Digests starch into maltose. Digest starch into maltose. Hope that is well noted. Then you go to question 24, where you are now asked, how does nutrition as a characteristic differ in plants and animals? How does nutrition as a characteristic differ in plants and animals? This is a very simple question. Because nutrition, how does nutrition take place in plants? Remember, plants makes their own food from carbon dioxide, water, in presence of light. But animals depends on already manufactured food. So say here, plants manufactures their own food from carbon dioxide, water, in presence of sunlight, while animals depends on already manufactured food. In short, you can say that for plants they're usually called autotrophs. Why? Because they exhibit autotrophic mode of nutrition. That means they make their own food. But for animals, they are called heterotrophs. Because they exhibit heterotrophic mode of nutrition. That means they depend on already manufactured food. So that is going to form part 7 of our biology KCSE 2016. I hope you have learned something from what we have said here. Kindly like our video, share, subscribe, share the link with your colleagues from other school, and I'll be doing more successive videos on this. I'm going to do part 8 of biology KCSE 2016. Kindly keep in touch. Thank you.